Hi guys, live again this week to the review of Doctor Who Kerblam, episode 7 of the new series. Hopefully my microphone is working and you're able to hear what I'm saying. So yeah, episode 7 of Doctor Who, and I thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty good. It was a runaround. It wasn't it was just kind of a bit of a mystery, but not a great mystery. To me, there were a couple of factors that, not necessarily a bad thing to do with the show, but there were a couple of elements I felt that were being tossed into this episode, whereby it was a case of I kind of felt that it came from elsewhere. Whereby it was a case of I kind of felt that it came from elsewhere. There was a bit of sort of Robots of Death mixed with Monsters Inc. I thought it was okay. I thought it was I don't think it was as strong as last week's. But as for your typical Doctor Who episode for this season, I'd say it was stronger than the first episode and the second. It wasn't stronger than Rosa, and it definitely wasn't stronger than Demons of the Punjab. But it was better than Arachnids in the UK, and it was better than the thing with the Bating. Saranga Conundrum. Stupid name. So we should begin. Okay, so this week I'm going to begin by talking about the writer, the person that actually wrote the episode, and that was Pete McTighe. And he is a Doctor Who fan. And he started off writing for shows like Neighbours and EastEnders, and he actually wrote many of the Doctor Who DVD sleeves. That's what his job was before working on Doctor Who. So he was known to sort of the Doctor Who producers before writing this episode. So the fact that they give him a shot at writing this, I think he did okay. As a story goes, I think he did okay. I think some people might think that this episode was taking a swipe at things like Amazon. And I know a lot of people who've worked in Amazon, and they do kind of feel like they're just robots. I'm trying to think. I'm going to put into terms of how I feel about the story in general, though, because the story is about sort of factory and automation and people's jobs. And as somebody who is a factory foreman, I would say that this episode didn't really grip me. Those elements of this episode didn't grip me. I think there was a lot of explanation as to how the system works. I'm not sure you need all that stuff in there. I mean, it's sort of backfill, I guess. It's a bit more world building than you generally get, but I think it was a little too in depth. I think it was a little too intricate. The ins and outs. But maybe that's just me. Maybe because I do work in a factory, that maybe it's something that's just less interesting to me. But yeah, I mean, the story was that the Doctor gets a message, and the crew go to investigate the warehouse moon orbiting Kandoka, which last I checked was a small place in Papua New Guinea, but apparently it's a planet now. I think that comes down to Pete McTighe, though. I think he's probably, being from Australia, he's probably holidayed there once or twice. But yeah, that's good enough. It's a name, it's just a name. And they're the galaxy's largest retailer, and it was very Amazon. They can say what they like. It was very Amazon. It even looked like sort of Amazon warehouses, and so then you got these automated robots, which reminded me of Robots of Death. Not in a bad way, though. When I say it reminds me of Robots of Death, I don't mean that it reminded me in a bad way, because Robots of Death hasn't been done for 40 years. So the fact that this rears its head again, but there's the switch to it. Was it really that much of a switch though? Because it was kind of the same story. You've got the character of what was the guy's name? Oh, did I write it down? I need to check if I wrote it down. No, I didn't. It was played by Leon, somebody. The guy the guy with the mop and bucket. But he was fighting for sort of workers' rights, whereas in Robots of Death, the guy was fighting for robots' rights. So it's a very similar plot line. And like I said, it hasn't been done for 40 years, so I'm okay with it. I think it came to the sort of forefront of my mind because I watched Robots of Death like 2 weeks ago. So that's really sort of at the forefront. I felt like the chase through the factory was a bit Monsters Inc. I have no problem with it. That's again, the likeness to it is not necessarily a bad thing because it was a fun way to sort of go through the factory and a fun way to really explore what was happening. What else have we got? The Doctor. Yes. So I don't know where I stand with this. There's a part of me that goes, that's nice, but there's a part of me going, oh, you shouldn't do that. And that's the whole bit whereby she opens the box and it's a fez. And I think I would have preferred it if she'd put the fez on and gone, nah, it's just not me anymore. I think I would have preferred that. The fact that she put the fez on and was like, look, fez. And we know, the seventh Doctor used to did briefly don a fez. So there's and I believe the fourth Doctor did as well, or maybe I'm getting him mixed up with one of Tom Baker's other roles. Possibly. So yeah, I did like that sort of moment of I ordered this a long time ago and it's taken it's time to get here. So I did kind of like that, but I wish you'd just sort of gone. This isn't me anymore. So I wish you had just sort of taken it back off again. But no, it's a small little thing. It's a nice little callback. And then of course we had the other callback then from Unicorn and the Wasp. You could tell this story was written by a Doctor Who fan. Pete McTighe is a Doctor Who fan. So he even tweeted out this evening, I believe that it was like, a childhood dream come true. So, there's a lot to unpack here. Pun unintended there. The fact that the system was retaliating against what the maintenance boy was doing, I felt like it was kind of, again, it's going back to the whole Robots of Death story and about the system sort of rejecting its or being under attack in some sort of way and retaliating. And I liked it. I didn't think there was enough of a mystery there though to really sort of grip onto. And that may be because I think there was a lot of parts here, and not really a massive amount in terms of cast members, but in terms of who you had to dish out the parts to. Because you've got 4 TARDIS crew, and you've got 4 other workers, plus all the droids and the system itself. And it wasn't that big of a mystery. People were going missing. And there's something about Paradise Towers about this as well. This seems to be like an amalgam story of all the fun bits of Doctor Who, and it went together okay. But did it work as a successful story overall? I'd give it a 7. I'd give this episode a 7. It's just, again, it's much better than Sununga Conundrum. but not as good as Demons of the Punjab. So, yeah, and then you got Lee Mack. Lee Mack as Dan Cooper in this. I think no, I know you don't have to give everybody sort of their just because they're a guest character, guest actor, you don't have to give them sort of forefront, and you don't have to give them this big broad spread in the episode. But this is kind of a waste of Lee Mack, a guy who is a stand-up comedian who has written and starred in 9 seasons of his own sitcom, and then is also on Would I Lie to You. He's funnier than this. He's funnier than what he was in this show, and he's funnier than what he was in the script, I guess. I think some of the stuff sort of did land, but I mean there were times whereby it's just like they were just sort of corny jokes. But I mean, I did like the fact that he did go back and reference the whole thing and say, well, at least you laughed at my jokes. So that was okay. But yeah, I think it was a little bit of a waste of Lee Mack. I think they could have given him something a little bit stronger. But comedians typically don't end up in particularly good roles in Doctor Who. They're either in it for a very short period of time, or they get given a role that's a little bit not. I think they try to just sort of go, oh, well, you're a comedian, so do something ha-ha. And that's really been how it's been for comics and comic actors in Doctor Who. Lee Evans was probably the most successful comic actor to show up in Doctor Who. John Cleese had a very limited role, and the late great Ken Dodd got given Delta and the Bannerman. So, what do you do? So the other thing I want to talk about here is, can we acknowledge that the reason why Chris Chibnall took this job was so that he'd give actors from Broadchurch work? Because there's a couple of Broadchurch actors in this episode. You've got Jodie Whittaker, you've got Matthew Gravel, and you've got Julie Hesman Hall. I can't remember how you pronounce her name then. Broadchurch actors everywhere. Now, Matthew Gravel is a typical voiceover actor, and he's done other work as well. His previous work inside the Doctor Who universe was from Torchwood. Good local lad, Matthew Gravel, from Porthcawl, my old stomping ground. But yeah, I mean, it was a case of Chris Chibnall is just clearly giving people work, giving his mates work. No, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but Doctor Who is slowly becoming the remnants of Broadchurch. I thought Julie Hesman Hall done a good job as the sort of, I guess she'd be HR or personnel. What do they call it? Organics. I thought, but I think everybody was slightly underserved. Callum Dixon, who played the manager, Slade. I had only ever seen him before in Touch of Cloth with Saran Jones. But the second I saw him, I was like, I know his face from somewhere. I couldn't place it. I did have to go look it up. So it was just kind of a slow-moving mystery where the music felt. I think the music was trying to compensate for what wasn't happening on screen, because there were vast amounts of exposition in this episode, like vast amounts of it, and the music was rhythmically going at a faster pace than what was happening on screen. There was this whole do 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 do, and then what was happening on screen was, let's open the filing cabinet, and I'm like, ooh, this music is making up for the lack of action, big time. The music was very. It reminded me of the sort of it reminded me of sort of the thriller sort of tension music then from the 80s Knight Rider series for some reason. But it crossed with a little bit of Jean-Michel Jarre. It was okay. Again, it wasn't until we got to the filing cabinet moment that I realised that the music was making up for the lack of action, really. And there wasn't really any actual action set pieces in this thing. There was a couple of moments whereby they were falling down a tube and going through the conveyor belt, but as for any sort of real action, I think they could have done with a few more on-screen deaths, and I think that they could have done a few more with a bit more running away from explosions kind of thing. I know that's a little bit silly, I know, but they could have done with something a little bit more thrilling, and this wasn't it. So yeah, I'm gonna the actual story again, when you're dealing with things like killer bubble wrap, maybe this is just Pete McTighe's sort of prejudice. Maybe he doesn't like. Maybe he finds people popping bubble wrap irritating, or it's a thing saying, hey, you can't resist temptation. That you can resist temptation, but can you resist popping bubble wrap? Nobody can. So it was kind of clever in that way. I love the props in this. I love the props. And I loved the robots. I'm going to say that outright. I absolutely loved the... Hello. How's it going? You haven't missed a great deal, just the entire review. I loved the robots, and I loved the props. I really thought that, because again, there was something Robots of Death about the look of them. And they had this neutral sort of look with this really, this just straight, flat grin, this. So it's just, I do it all the time. It was just this real sort of, it's creepy. And, but it wasn't really creepy. I don't find the droids were creepy. There was something very marketable about these things, but I tell you what, the props I like the fact the scanners looked like a barcode scanner made out of a Star Trek phaser, and the manager's gun, I like that. I'm going to be making myself one of those. I really like that there was something designing and building a gun prop. It's easy to get wrong, and I think they nailed it. I think they nailed the look of this gun. So yeah, killer bubble wrap. I tell you what I did like about this episode. The writer, Pete McTighe, was the first writer so far that I can think of that remembered that Yaz was a police officer and actually had to restrain somebody. Good on him. Like I said, I know he's a Doctor Who fan, but this is the first time I've ever seen anybody actually address this issue. That, Yaz can be a bit more physical because she is a police officer and she is trained to handle people in such a way. So yeah, good on him for that. Charlie. Charlie was the maintenance guy. Yes. I couldn't remember his name. Charlie, okay, we need to deal with the fact that the maintenance guy was just insane. Charlie, the character of Charlie was absolutely crazy because his motivations for doing what he was doing did not add up. They did not make sense. So the character must have just been absolutely crazy because he said, it turns out he's an expert in electronics and cybernetics, and he's got a job working in a warehouse. Uh, no, you wouldn't. If you were that intelligent, if you're that smart, I guess you'd be self-employed, wouldn't you? The bad guy didn't escape this time. It's no, yeah, 7 episodes, 7 episodes, and he finally we got a bad guy that did not get away. Unless he teleported. Oh God, teleported at the last second. He'll show up in another episode as part cyborg with bits of droid, postal droid, or stuck to his face. I'd actually like that. Huh? I would actually like that. Don't go there. Yeah. The other thing I did like as well, and this is something else that I have been absolutely gagging for since the start of the bloody season, the Doctor stepped up. And the Doctor not only stepped up, but the Doctor even said and acknowledged to herself that she stepped up. Finally, there was that you cross me and I will smack you down hard, bitch. I 7 episodes is taken together. 7 bloody episodes is taken just to have that moment where the Doctor's finally comfortable enough in her own boots to be able to put somebody down in their place and give them a good roasting. And to actually put herself in charge. Now, there was a lot of other people putting themselves in charge in this episode, but I felt like it was more teamwork. There was that moment where it was like Ryan just turned and goes, Yaz and Charlie, come with me. We're gonna, But this was it was very team written. But I don't think anybody was superfluous here. I just think that maybe we could have done with one fewer cast members. But I mean, look, the character building that they've done for the past few episodes allowed them to be able to take time off from doing serious character development. Graham still had nice moments, but there wasn't these sort of I don't say preachy moments, but there weren't these sort of moments of these person to person moments. Then he had a couple of personable moments with Charlie, which were okay, but yeah, and Ryan didn't really have a lot. Ryan did a lot this episode, but he didn't have a lot. And again, Yaz actually did more. And again, it's thankfully that this guy remembered that she was a police officer and actually started behaving. This, I think, is the episode that has actually done more, I believe, for Yaz's character than the past 6 episodes. Or at least since the first episode. Because at least now she's actually interacting. She's actually using what the character's supposed to be. So, and you're getting more, character development isn't about, how many members of the family are there. It's how the person responds in a situation. That's what a character is, You can have all the facts and figures you like, but you don't know that person and it's how that person reacts in a situation. And I felt like this was some show not tell character building, and I liked it. Again, it wasn't a great episode in terms of action. It could have done with a bit of a quicker pace, a bit more action here or there. It could have done with a little bit more death, on-screen death, a little bit more explosions here or there. Not necessarily a massive amount, but it did, like I said, it did have the Monsters Inc. kind of moment going through the warehouse. What else was there? Because there's what have I got? Yeah, I mean there's the management teaching lesson. I would say everything. I mean, it could be because I am, like I said, I am a factory foreman. It could be that because of that, I didn't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of how this sort of hierarchy was supposed to work. I thought Lee Mack would have lasted a bit longer. That was a surprise. Yeah, I covered that just now. It was just a case of I thought he was underserved. I thought that not only could he have lasted a bit longer, but that given how funny Lee Mack is, and like I said, he wrote 9 seasons of a sitcom. He's a stand-up comedian. He does Would I Lie to You? They weren't giving him the funniest material, but then he did actually acknowledge that. I was just like, yeah, at least this person laughs at my jokes. So yeah, I think he was underserved. But yeah, people were getting liquidated. It was a mishmash Doctor Who plot. It was Paradise Towers crossed with Robots of Death. It was and the end result was that it was this nutcase Charlie, who's apparently a super genius, that was killing people in the names of workers' rights. Which, I mean, it does, your bad guys don't have to be sane. And I think if you're going to do an insane bad guy, then cross the line. Just step up to the plate and really. There was a moment whereby he seemed to sort of almost have a stroke when the Doctor was talking to him. So, but you should have gone a little bit further. Should have pushed the boat a little bit further. But again, that's my preference, I guess, for storytelling, which is that they would go up as far as the danger and then come back. Whereas what I would do is go up as far as the danger and then go across and then try to deal with the mess afterwards. So, because like when he started the whole thing where he was going to teleport all the delivery droids to the places, wouldn't it have been better just to have put explosives in the droids and just teleported them out and just had them explode? Surely that would have been easier than just having killer bubble wrap. Yeah, I don't know, when he started it and they were about to, they all come on and they were all going to teleport. There was something odd about them, a little bit in the behavioural patterns. But I think I would have actually had them all teleport out. I think I would have had the Doctor deal with it after they'd all teleported out. So it would have been like, oh crap, no, it's hitting the fan. Whereas they didn't. It was just like, no, I've just reversed it. There we go. I've just given them new orders. So yeah, a lot of Broadchurch cast members in this episode. That's really it. I don't really have a whole hell of a lot more to say about this episode. It was the music was making up for the lack of pace. The story was exposition heavy. It was a solid enough story. It was a solid enough romp. We could have done with a bit more excitement. And I think if it had a little bit more excitement, I think this would be a much better episode. Like there were just moments just to kick the pace in places, just to give it a boot in the backside. The best character was Twisty. Twisty, which one was Twisty? Because I've only watched this once, and I've written down most of the characters' names. Callum Dixon, Dan Cooper, Kerblam was Matthew Gravel. Right, yes. Now, there's another droid in another sci-fi that thing reminds me of, and I don't know which one it is. I've tried, but it was that 3-prong spoke thing underneath them. It was hovering around. I can't remember for the life of me what it reminds me of. But it was a bit Talkie Toaster. No, it was Talkie. Well, I mean, it didn't remind me of Talkie Toaster, but the actual design, I'm trying to think of what it is. Oh my word! I mean, if you come online and said howdy diddly do, I would have been in my doubles. But yeah, I just think that this episode was this episode is the second episode after Demons of the Punjab. Yes, the black hole droids. Yes, That's what it was. That's what it was. Very familiar. So yeah, after Demons of the Punjab, I would put this as my third. Demons of the Punjab, Rosa, and now this. So they've had three, above average episodes so far this season. So three. But I mean, like, if I do some sort of quick scoring here, this one, look, yeah. So yes, what episodes am I missing here? Cause I know I missed one last week, wasn't I? I missed Saranga Conundrum. So 8.5, and this one. So we got a potential amount of points then. If we look at the season as a whole, there's 10 episodes this season, which means that if we do it as a competition style, then there's a potential of winning 100 points. With a perfect season, they could get 100 points. So how is this season faring so far? Because I reckon if you're doing anything under 3/4, then it's not a good season. And I think that's the best way to look at how successful it is. If you award points to each episode, and you say, right, well, this is 6 out of 10, this is 6.5 out of 10, that's 7 out of 10. But again, if you get to the end of the season, you've got 100 points there, and you add them all up and see how well you've done. Well, if we got 6.5, that's 12.5, 20.5, 20.5, 28, 26.5, 32.5, 41, 48. Ooh. So far this season, I've scored this 48 out of 70. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's... Like, based on a quality thing, based on just numbers alone, 48 out of 70, that's still a passing grade, but that's all it is a passing grade. We've got 3 episodes left to go. If they did get, say, 3 9s, what's that? That'd be 66. 66 out of 100. That's a fail. Jeez. I mean, definitely not the actors. Writing and shocking, mate. They aren't being given the very best quality work to work with. Yeah. I mean, I think people have got to stop looking at this show and going, oh, yeah, it's Doctor Who and this, it's my favourite show. And that may be true. But something has been concerning me for a while, and that is the actual shift in the time slot. Because the shift in the time slot to a Sunday is filling a hole, and I'm concerned with... Because Doctor Who fans are just going to show up anyway, no matter where you put it. And yes, it's getting on average about 8 million views. But then you've got to ask yourself, how many of those views are people that just... There's nothing else on and they're just tuning in. And I think without that, I think that this show is probably going to be pulling in about 4 mil. And again, there's this whole notion here that they moved it to Sunday so that they could put it into a fixed time slot, and then they moved the time slot. Which pisses me off, and I know that there are people out there that are like, it doesn't really matter that much, but it does. It does matter, because it's unreliable. You can't find it. You don't know where the show is. So you've got that, but then again, the quality of the writing this season has not been the best. Peter McTighe has done a decent job with this story, but if I score this story as a 7 out of 10, which again is better. It's better than The Woman Who Fell to Earth. It's better than Ghost Monument. It's better than Arachnids in the UK, and it's definitely better than the thing with Pating. But as for that time move is why I missed the start of your review. Well, what I've decided to do is, no matter what time the show goes on, is that I've decided to put a fixed spot in. Because if Doctor Who ain't going to do it, I bloody well am. And I'm going to do a fixed point whereby my reviews are going to be 8 o'clock every Sunday. So regardless of what time, unless of course Doctor Who goes on later, obviously, because it's unreliable. You don't know where it's going to be. So regardless of that, every Sunday at 8 p.m., regardless of what time Doctor Who goes out, I will be here at 8 p.m. because I think, structure. Everybody knows when to tune in, and don't they? I mean, it's just obvious. Apparently not to the BBC though. So yeah, we're looking at, again, if you score this show out of 10 points per episode, and then you say that there's a potential of 100 points for 10 episodes in the season, and if I add up all the scores that I've given it so far, if it gets a 9 for every single episode for episodes 8, 9, and 10, 27, right? So they if I give it a 9, unless the episode was absolutely perfect, the next 3 episodes are absolutely perfect, but they were really, really good, they might get a 9 each, then that would be an extra 27 points. So 27 points, what would that be? That'd be 75. That'd be a 75 out of 100, and that's what it's got to get a passing grade. So it would have to. The next episode would have to be a 9 out of 10 minimum. The episode after that would have to be a 9 out of 10 minimum, and the episode after that would have to be a 9 out of 10 minimum. Otherwise, the way I've scored it, it would be under 3/4. It would be under a 3/4. Under 3/4 of the overall score that it could get. Speak volumes that they moved the special from Xmas Day. Big mistake. Big mistake. I haven't addressed that actually. That's one of the worst things they could have done. And it's one of the worst things they could have done because, again, everybody knew what it was. Everybody. How many people do you know look forward to the Doctor Who Christmas special? And one of the explanations I heard was that Chris Chibnall decided he felt that they'd covered enough Doctor Who Christmas stories in previous seasons that you didn't have to do a Doctor Who Christmas. You don't have to. You don't have to do a Christmas story just because it's the Christmas special. Does not mean you have to center it around Christmas. Yeah, you could tie, it's a Christmas themed story or whatever. You don't have to though. There's it's been family viewing for us since the first one. It was family viewing back in the 60s because the first Christmas special happened in 1963. When we're talking, and not only that, it's a bit annoying considering what Stephen Moffat did as well. And people can rib on Stephen Moffat as much as they like, right? The guy was in an impossible position, and I my personal opinion of the guy is that he is a great writer. He is just not a good showrunner, right? That's been my opinion of Stephen Moffat for a long, long time. I think he needs somebody to guide him to go, okay, let's look at this aspect instead. Go write this episode, but then do change this aspect. But even so, the guy genuinely loves Doctor Who. The guy genuinely is a fan of the show, and he fought hard to make sure that Doctor Who maintained the Christmas spot. He fought really hard to make sure that it didn't lose it. And then he hands it over to Chris Chibnall, and Chibnall's like, well, we don't need it. We can't write a Christmas episode. You're the head. This is your first season, head writer of the show, head showrunner, and then you're handing away spots on the basis of you don't think you can write it. And the worst part of all that is that all he really has to do as head writer is to get a writer in and say, look, this is the problem. I need an episode for Christmas I'm busy doing other stuff. I'm going to hand you the Christmas episode and write whatever you like, and then come back to me, and then I'll give you notes on whatever you've written. That's really all he has to do. He doesn't have to be there day in, day out, writing alongside the other writers. All he really has to do is just hand off the task to another writer, and then give him the corrections and the notes. That's why you have series story script editors. Maybe they should get more script editors in. Maybe that might be a good idea. Have a word with Terrence Dicks. But yeah, it's and that's what the bet in that special ends up festive anyway. But again, apparently, so what I've heard is that they've moved it to New Year's Day, and they said, oh, maybe the plot is going to be a bit more New Year's centric. Do you remember the last Doctor Who that was New Year centric? Oh, do we really need to go there? I'm not saying that they're going to do the same sort of thing that they did with the Doctor Who movie, but I don't need to see that. And it's going to be a partying or New Year's party or something like that. Starting anew, that would be the thing, wouldn't it? Yeah, Paul McGann, exactly. Yeah, starting in, because that's what it's going to be, right? If you're going to do a New Year, because that's what the New Year's about. New Year's resolutions. So if they do the one for the New Year's Day, it's going to be about new beginnings, and we've just had a new beginning with Jodie Whittaker. So, and again, I thought she did okay this episode. I thought she did. I thought she did better. I liked her more in this episode than I have in all of them. And she didn't have to do that much. She did her usual overly dramatic sonic waving, and but I didn't feel like the sonic was being used of anything. Bye bye Graham on New Year's Day. That's I could see that happening. I could see that, definitely, of course. Again, new start, new beginning. So why wouldn't you try to hit somebody in the fields that day? God, there's going to be a lot of hangover people when this episode goes out. There's going to be a lot of hangover people. And again, I'm not sure that's such a good idea. So yeah, I think that's really all I've got to say about Kerblam. It's the music was good. The music was making up for the lack of pace. It wasn't like this episode didn't have pace. I just felt like it was exposition heavy. That's all. So yeah, I've been rambling on now for nearly 45 minutes. I'm going to call it quits there. And I'm going to say, if you've got anything to add, please leave it in my comment section down below when this video gets posted. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and give me the thumbs up if you like this video. Also, I just want to say before I do go, actually, on a much more serious note, there is a fellow YouTuber named Philip Hawkins, and he is a regular poster on my channel, and he also does reviews of Doctor Who as well, and he has just gone through something really horrific, and I just want to send him my condolences. And yeah, I just like Philip seems like a really nice guy, and I knew something was wrong because it had got to sort of Tuesday or Wednesday during the week and he still hadn't put a video up, and it was a case of something is up here, and I didn't have any other way of contacting him other than YouTube, so I didn't know what was going on. But he posted up a video like 2 days ago. So yeah, I just want to, if he watches this, Phil, you have my condolences, my friend. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. And I'll see you next week at 8 p.m. at a regular time slot, unlike Doctor Who. So until next time, I'll see you later, guys.